Welcome to the Academy, a series— wait, what? Hello guys, my name is Sam and welcome back to SWTOR Central, and in this video we're going to be doing a how-to DPS guide. In this edition we're going to be covering the basics of everything that you need to know as a DPS. There will also be no face cam in this video because I want you to pay attention to the information and not my pretty face. And with that being said, make sure you sit back, relax, because as always this video is about to get awesome. Alrighty then, ladies and gentlemen, the chances are that if this is your first time playing Star Wars: The Old Republic, you chose to play a dirty DPS, which means that you're going to get a lot of useful information from this video. However, if you already know how to DPS and have been doing so for a very long time, you're probably not going to find too much new information from this video. Okay, so the first thing we're going to jump into here is knowing your class. Now, knowing your class is going to be very important. Why? Well, you're not going to try and be a Sith assassin using a blaster rifle now, are you? You need to know what your class is and what it is capable of doing. For example, a scoundrel can be used as a healer or a damage dealer and is capable of shooting people in the face. Now, the best way to expand on this is going to be your discipline path. There are many different discipline paths in this game. Every class in the game is going to have at least 2 different discipline paths for you to use. Some classes, such as the gunslinger, have 3 different discipline paths. Now, once you've chosen your discipline path, which will also, by the way, decide whether you are a tank, DPS, or a healer, for the purpose of this video, it's going to be a DPS discipline path that you choose. You're going to want to make sure that you actually look through your discipline path and what you're going to obtain along the way, because changes will be made to your class and how it actually plays as you level up. Next to this, we have utility points, which is going to be something you are able to buy as you level up. There are 4 different tabs here. We have skillful, masterful, heroic, and legendary. All of the tabs will unlock as you level up. The great thing about utility points is that you can reset them anytime you like and choose different utility points. So you can adapt your character to different situations with different utilities that have different effects. So making sure that you actually read these and understand what they mean is going to be quite important for you. The next thing we're going to cover is your rotation. Now, most new players to an MMO believe that just pressing any ability is going to be completely fine. However, this is not the case, especially with Star Wars: The Old Republic, because there is, in fact, a certain sequence in which you can use your abilities to get the best damage output. So just smashing random keys on your quick bar is probably not going to do nowhere near as much DPS as what you could do if you were going by your rotation. Now, each DPS discipline has its own rotation to go along with it. What I highly recommend you do is a quick Google search on what your discipline rotation is. There are great websites such as Volk.com or Dolphy.net that can help you out with this a whole bunch. And it's always better to try and learn your rotation while you are a lower level, because as a lower level you don't have all of your abilities just yet, which means that you can get used to all of your new abilities as you gain them as you level up. Versus when you boost a character to level 65, you're given a whole bunch of abilities and you probably have no idea what any of them do, and you're going to have to learn all of them there on the spot. So your rotation is going to be the thing that I will enforce the most, because it's definitely something you need to know and you should be using it at all times, especially at max level. With PvP, it's kind of a different story, but perhaps we'll cover that in another video in the future. Now, the next thing we're going to cover is keeping up to date with your gear. While yes, a lot of people do complain that this game is way too easy while leveling, it is still going to be important for you to keep up with your gear. You don't want to be level 45 while still using level 20 gear. So what I recommend you do is you hit up the supply section on your respective fleet, Republic or Imperial, and upgrade your gear at least once every 5 levels or so. At least that way you know that you won't run into too much difficulty when you hit a boss fight. Nothing is more annoying than being killed multiple times against a boss fight in your story. So just double check your gear every now and then and make sure that everything is up to date. This goes for the entire Holy Trinity, to be honest. Healers, tanks, and damage dealers. Now, there is another thing that you can do with your gear to boost your DPS. This is called augmenting. Basically, every piece of your gear has 3 different modification slots, excluding your belt and braces, which only have 2. These modifications are going to be your armorings, your mods, and your enhancement. An augment is an extra type of modification that you can add to each single piece of gear you have, including your relics, earpiece, and implant, and your main hand and your offhand, of course. Now, this type of thing isn't really going to be necessary unless you are max level and are doing operations. You can do it as a lower level if you want to, but there's probably not that much point. Okay, so the next thing is going to be which stats should you use. Now, as a DPS, there's going to be 4 different stats that you're going to be interested in. This is power, critical rating, alacrity rating, and your accuracy rating. Now, if you're not max level, then you can ignore the accuracy rating. Don't stress too much about stats as a lower level either, because it's not going to matter too much until you do eventually hit max level. So as a lower level, just focus on gaining power and critical rating. You can use alacrity rating if you want to, because what this is going to do is reduce your cast times, your channel times, and your global cooldown. If you don't know what a global cooldown is, it's basically the amount of time that you have to wait before you can use another ability. So at max level, you want to be focusing on all of these stats, accuracy probably being the most important, although once again this is going to exclude PvP because accuracy is not needed in PvP. So when you're at max level, you want to make sure that you have at least 110% accuracy. This is going to ensure that none of your attacks ever miss, are blocked, or parried. Power is going to decide how much damage your abilities actually do, and critical rating is going to increase the amount of times you will see a critical hit. On a side note here, endurance is not really a good thing to take as a DPS. You really just want to focus on the stats I've already mentioned. Just think of endurance as bad. So if you ever have the option to, let's say, increase your power rating, but it's going to lower your endurance, then that's absolutely fine. Go for it, because in this DPS guide, we do not care about endurance. Okay, so the next thing we're going to touch on is set bonus. Now, set bonus for a DPS is very important, and this is something that you can obtain for yourself when you hit max level and start doing operations and or PvP. Basically, a set bonus is perks that you get for your current discipline. It can boost damage done, reduce a cooldown, and all sorts of other cool things. Again, this is something you're going to want to look up, so do a quick Google search or look on Volk.com or Dolphy.net. Now, as a DPS, I always recommend to kill weak enemies first. So when you're out and about and you're doing a flashpoint or an operation and you're facing weak NPCs, then kill the weak ones first and deal with the stronger ones later on. This is typically because the weaker enemies have lower HP, so they will be killed fairly quickly. And then later on, you can focus all of your DPS to the stronger enemies. Okay, so the second to last thing I'm going to mention is aggro and reducing your threat. Now, the entire Holy Trinity, tanks, healers, and damage dealers all gain threat when in combat. I think Marauders are actually the most well known for stealing aggro, but I could be wrong. So basically, aggro or threat is something that the tank wants to be keeping and not the DPS. If you gain too much aggro or threat from the enemies, then they're going to start focusing their attention to you, which is not something you want because you're probably going to end up dead, especially if it's in a boss encounter. Now, all damage dealers will have an ability which reduces their threat. For a mercenary, it's chaff flare. For a DPS assassin, it's mass mind control. For a marauder, it's force camouflage, and so on and so on. If you're not sure what it is, then just look through your abilities and I'm sure you will find it somewhere. Okay, so that's going to be it for my DPS guide. Thank you very much for watching, and if you enjoyed this video and or if it helped you, then be sure to smash the like button. And if you're new to this channel, make sure that you subscribe. I'm also releasing videos to all of my Patreons early, so if you're interested in seeing that kind of thing, make sure you check out the link I left in the description below and get yourself a pledge going. And with that being said, that will be the end of this video. Thank you very much for watching, and as always, I will catch you in the next one.